hello, and welcome to USA Global TV. And hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and our show today is Talking Heads. Talking Heads are experts from around the world who come and share their knowledge, their experience, and their expertise in their own 30-minute show. Our talking head expert today is Mariska du Preez, joining us from, she loves when I say this, New Zealand. It's already tomorrow there, so she can tell us what to expect. And she is a transformation and leadership coach. She is also my professional and personal coach. So let's welcome her right now. Hi, Mariska.
Hello, Dr. Jacqueline, and hello to all our viewers and listeners.
How's Thursday going?
Thursday is sunny and it seems like it's going to turn into a beautiful day. So I'm hoping that after our lesson, I'll actually be able to go and take a bit of a breath in the fresh air and enjoy the sunshine.
Sounds beautiful. I'm hoping that you do. All right, I'm going to put up your presentation when you're ready, and I'll go backstage and produce, and then I'll come back. Do you want your deck up now?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, have a great show.
Thank you. Okay. So for our lesson today, we are still within the awareness space and looking at different elements of awareness. And today we are diving a bit deeper into feedback. So where we've gone on this journey so far is we looked at awareness and different elements that it consists of. We dived deeper into emotional intelligence because it is such a large part of how we actually become aware of different things. And it is an element that we always or don't always take into consideration. Then last week we did biases. So in our section from last week's lesson, there was quite a few interesting things around how we think and how we might perceive things that may or may not be accurate or serving us. And then today we're doing feedback. So my question to you, and I love starting these things off with questions, and today it's not a quiz, it's a general question. When I say feedback, what happens to you in your body? And I found two little memes that for some people might describe this quite well. So if you look at the little cat there in the photo, you will see when people say feedback or can I give you feedback, the expression is like fear. What the hell? No, thank you. I don't want it. Or alternatively, we might think I'm always open to it, but then I can actually shrug it off or just ignore the feedback. But at least it's off your chest. And I don't want us to think about feedback in either of these ways. I actually want us to be able to embrace feedback and to utilize it in a way that helps us and that serves us properly. So to do that, we're going to look at two elements of feedback. One is giving feedback, which I know for a lot of people is a very scary thing to do. And then the other is getting feedback. And as we see with a cat, that can be a scary thing to do too. So we are going to address both of them. And an element that actually brings both of these together is some research that was done by Dr. Carol Dweck. So she did research with children. And what she found was the way that we actually give feedback can produce a fixed or growth mindset. So a way of thinking about our abilities as this is what I have and this is all I have, or thinking about our abilities as I can get better at this, I'm just not there yet. So let's look at these sort of elements and how they actually came up with it. So what they did is they gave the kids building blocks. So as you can see on the screen, it is square blocks, but different forms on it. So some of the squares have been divided and they make up little triangles, and some of them are solid squares with different colors in them. So they gave the children those blocks, and then they had an easy experiment. So they gave them a little picture, and it only had two colors in, and it was fairly easy to build those ones. And then, of course, they went on to the more difficult ones. Now, what they did during the easy part of the experiment is with some of the kids, when they have completed that specific picture and they were successful, they would give them one of two pieces of feedback. So the one might be, I see you very clever. So they actually put it onto our identity. Telling a person that they are very clever, we actually telling the person identity-wise, they have a cleverness in their identity. On the other hand, the feedback that was given was, oh, I see that you must have tried really hard, and that's why you got this one right. So what we focus on in that feedback is we focus on the behavior that the child was displaying. Now, something interesting happened when they moved on to the more difficult part of the experiment. When they gave the children the difficult part of the experiment with a little bit more intricacies and more difficult patterns to be able to replicate with the blocks, what they found is the children, where they gave them feedback to say, oh, you're so clever, and that's why you've got your first ones right, struggled with the more difficult puzzles quite a bit more. And they were more prone to actually give up. On the other hand, where the children were exposed to feedback that focused on their behavior, the likelihood of them actually getting the pattern correct was greater, it was improved, and they kept trying. So they didn't give up and go, oh no, I don't know how to do this. They kept trying to see whether they could figure it out themselves. And then, of course, what they did at the end of both of them, they would ask the children, okay, so if we continue with this, which type of pictures would you prefer to continue playing with? Would you prefer playing with the easy ones, or would you prefer playing with the difficult ones? And what they found is the children that were given feedback around their cleverness, or something that they could put onto their identity, basically, wanted to go back to the thing that made them feel clever. So they wanted to go back to the easy puzzles. And the children that got feedback around their behavior wanted to go back to try even more difficult puzzles, because they saw that as a way of growing their skill. So when we think about feedback, this is a very, very important element to take into consideration when we are giving feedback, especially. So what I want you to think about is also the different areas in life and in work, around in our environments with our teams that we work in. So one of these elements is performance. Now, when we have a performance process, what they found is in a performance process, we normally focus on outcomes, we focus on speed, and we focus on set steps that's already been established. Because we want to see whether we can get this thing done and processed as fast as we can possibly do that. Now, in a performance process, the likelihood of us actually learning anything new is reduced significantly. Right. And in a performance process, normally the type of feedback we are more likely to get and give to other people would be around a fixed mindset type of feedback. We have a tendency to do that more because we look at the speed. You're not fast enough. The outcome, you didn't get to the outcome that we wanted soon enough, or you didn't follow the steps. So it is a lot more around the person's identity. The focus is around that in most of the cases, a lot more than it is around growth and helping the person get better. Now, the other element is a learning process. Now, in a learning process, the focus is more around growing, innovation, and continuously improving the process. Now, this might be an already established process, but because we have the elements of growth, innovation, and continuous improvement within the process, even if we have established steps, we don't take the established step as the all and end all. We reevaluate our steps within our process as well as our complete process to see how we can adjust it or modify it in order for it to work even better. Other research also found that if we are more within a learning process, initially it takes a little bit longer for us to actually get into a good performance cycle. But, and this is very interesting, the thing with the learning process is if it is kept as a learning process, it actually gives us a lot more and a lot better performance yields than a performance process that we sort of stop our learning and we just continue utilizing the process itself. So taking that into consideration, we actually want to have a learning process within our systems. It also helps us to focus on the behaviors that people might be exhibiting, and that is easier to give some growth-minded feedback on and helping them to grow and innovate and become better even within their process. It's also one of those processes where we can add other things into it and people adapt to it a lot faster than when we have a performance process. So that's a little bit of an extra food for thought there on the process or the system that we're using and how that would also influence our feedback. So Owen is one of my coaching friends, and he has in his organization, he works with people that does project management, and he had this really great cartoon that I thought I would share with you guys today because it goes so well into the feedback. So the project manager's saying, one of my team is not performing. And his boss is, okay, what have you tried? The project manager, nothing. Boss, why not? Project manager, I've been waiting for them to figure it out so I don't have to feel uncomfortable. Does that sound a bit familiar? And then, of course, the boss is going, oh, well, remind me why I hired you. So we don't want other people to wonder about why we were hired, and we also don't want to run away from the feedback that we need to give. So the feedback considerations that this leads us into is being able to give that feedback as soon as possible, especially if it is feedback that would help us to grow or change our process or our performance. Then, two other elements to take into consideration with feedback is one, when we praise somebody, make sure that we do it in the group. We want to see that other people are being recognized for the behaviors that they are displaying within the workplace. This has two really great sort of side effects. One, the person feels really stoked because my superior, my boss, actually gave me a bit of a tap on the back in front of all my friends, so I can have a bit of boasting rights. The other really great thing is that because when we are giving feedback around behavior, the rest of the team can see what type of behaviors are actually wanted and given great feedback to. So that helps both the team and the individual that gets the feedback. On the other hand, for growth opportunities and the feedback where we need to actually work on something a little bit more, we're not quite there yet, those sort of feedbacks is best to be given one-on-one. And this is because it might feel uncomfortable for the person, and we don't always know whether they're already in a fixed or a growth mindset space. So the way that we will give our feedback, even when the person is more towards a fixed mindset in a specific space, might need a little bit more finesse. And it also helps us to feel psychologically safe. So that actually brings us to the next element of this, and this is team and individual celebrations. Now, one of the things that they found with feedback or high performing teams in general is that in high performing teams, on average, for a high performing team, they celebrate or give praise and feedback to the team members and to the individuals 5 to 6 times for every one growth feedback. So they have a lot of celebration, right? So they celebrate it a lot. They focus on the behaviors. They're very specific about what sort of behavior it was that is actually celebrated. And as I said, they do it often, right? So the more often we can celebrate those things and actually celebrate our individual team members as well as the team, so how we are working as a team together, as well as how we are contributing as individuals, that gives us a sense of purpose too. And it helps us to feel part of the group. So celebration is a really, really key element of feedback. And you guys will notice here that I'm not saying that it needs to be one of those hamburger feedback type of situations where you have, oh, this is what you do great, this is what you need to improve, and another great thing at the bottom. We don't want to be doing that. That doesn't feel honest or authentic. So keep our celebrations to celebrations and celebrate often, and keep our growth feedback to growth feedback and do that separately. So that actually brings us to our growth opportunities. One element it is so important in our workplace, in our communities, at home. Ensure that the environment is psychologically safe. And this goes back into our EQ stuff that we did before. It is so important to be able to recognize the person's emotional state when we're going to give the feedback, how they're reacting to the feedback, how we are physically showing up during the feedback. If I'm nervous in the feedback and I step into the room and I'm nervous already and I'm the person giving the feedback, that's automatically going to make the other person nervous, right? So we're already starting on the wrong footing. So ensuring that psychological safety, if you want to dig in a little bit deeper on that, go back to our emotional intelligence lessons. There's some really great tips and tricks on there that would help you. Then, as I said before, honest. Be honest, right? We try to lessen the blow of feedback so often. And the big thing is we diluted, plus the other person is sort of feeling that they're not getting the full picture from you. So being honest is really, really important when giving feedback. As I said, that behavior, right? Focusing on the behavior and not the person's identity. So what exactly, be specific, what exactly is it that the person did? And how did it come across? Where was it within the process? So that they can understand how to act in future. That's part of what feedback is for. It is for us to grow and change and to understand that properly. And this is where the meaningful also comes in, making sure that the feedback we give is meaningful feedback. It is feedback that would actually help the person to grow or change the behavior that they need to change in order for us to perform better as a team, be more productive, whatever it is that we want to accomplish with our feedback. So being intentional and having that meaningful feedback. And then, of course, one-on-one. Make sure when it's growth feedback that we need to give, it is a session that we do one-on-one, and we can actually prepare for it properly in order for us to show up the right way. Now, as I mentioned, we have the giving feedback and we have the getting feedback. So we just went through the giving of feedback. So when we're giving feedback to our team members, and there's a few elements to take into consideration. Now we're going to go over to the getting of feedback. Now, when we think about getting feedback, some organizations does 360s. So this is a sort of feedback where you ask different people in your peer group, people that reports to you, people that you report to, so different layers within the organization, to give you feedback, and they normally have a whole list of questions that is structured for a specific outcome. So 360 feedbacks are normally intentional. There's a reason why they're doing the 360 feedback, and the questions is according to that feedback. Now, all of us do not have access necessarily to 360 feedback, so we can set some of that up ourselves. The main reason for 360 feedback, or any other feedback for that matter, right, is for us to help us to get better. Now, when we think about getting feedback, we might get it through a formal process such as a 360, or we might get feedback from friends and foes alike that observe certain things about us within the workplace, or we might have an argument for whatever reason and things are being said. Now, when that happens, there's nuggets in there that we might not realize we are doing. And remember, all of this is around awareness, right? So there's some self-awareness things that we internally sort of think through our own processes. And then there is also our external awareness. And the feedback comes into our external awareness, how other people are seeing us when we're showing up in our workplace, in our community, or at home. And this is where that feedback actually helps us to grow, because if we don't realize how it is that we're showing up and what it is that we're doing, we will definitely find it really tricky to change the behavior that we are exhibiting. So Dr. Tasha has a very interesting quote that I would like to share with you guys. So to produce truly useful insight, awareness, feedback, you can fit in the word that suits you best there. The person must also have a sufficient exposure to the behavior that you want feedback on, and a clear picture of what success looks like. Now, let's dig into this a little bit more. Sufficient exposure, right? If I'm going to ask somebody for feedback, to give me feedback on how I'm showing up in a meeting, and they have never seen me in a meeting, they're going to not be able to give me feedback, not proper feedback in any case, right? Because they don't have sufficient exposure to the type of behaviors that I might be exhibiting during a meeting session. So that person that we want to ask for the feedback needs to at least have sufficient exposure for the type of feedback that we want them to give us. Thinking about our psychological safety and our honesty, we need to feel safe with this person and feel confident that this person will be brutally honest with us. Now, the reason why we want the safety is that the brutal honesty, if it comes from a foe, is never pleasant, and we normally start on the defense. Now, this is feedback that we actually want to get. This is feedback that will actually help us. So we want somebody that we trust they have our best interest at heart. So making sure that we feel safe with this person. And so I might feel safe with my mom, but because she loves me so much, she's not necessarily going to give me honest, brutally honest feedback, right? Because she doesn't want to hurt my feelings. So she might not be the best person to ask for feedback. Whereas one of my friends, I really trust her. I trust her opinion, and I feel safe discussing things with her. And I know that when I do something that isn't quite in my own best interest, she's sure going to bring it up. And she's going to call a spade, and she'll tell me exactly what behaviors I am displaying in that specific time period or within that specific situation that is not serving me at that moment. So I will most probably rather ask her for feedback. So taking into consideration that the person has sufficient exposure, we feel safe with them, and that they will give us brutal, honest feedback, right? And then this next element of the quote, a clear picture of what success looks like. So here we need to be able to say, well, I think this is my behavior. So we normally have a bit of a hypothesis of what we think we might show up as, but the actual fact of how we do show up might be a bit different. So having our hypothesis and having a clear picture of how will it look like when I am behaving in a way that really will serve me, the situation, and the other people in the room, right? That is a very, very crucial element to it, because if I don't know what that picture is going to look like, I can see a behavior, but I can't say whether this behavior is what you want or don't want because I don't know what your picture looks like. So I need to have both of them. So taking that into consideration when we're getting feedback, so we can actually set up our feedback sessions in a way that it is really good for us to be able to learn from them. And that's what we want with feedback. We don't want feedback that is just slung out at every corner. We actually want feedback that's intentional, that's specific, and that we can work on. And when we think about feedback, and this is again being very intentional with where we want to grow and how we want to grow, choose 1 to 2. if we make it too many, because this is a behavior change that you will be working on, it can become quite overwhelming, right? So take into consideration that you break it down into smaller chunks in order for you to be able to actually utilize the feedback that you get optimally, and making sure that that feedback is used in a way where you can incorporate it into the new behaviors that you want to be displaying. So this brings us to the end of our lesson. So what we've covered in our lesson today was giving feedback and getting feedback. So when we are giving feedback, being intentional with our feedback, being specific about the behavior that's been displayed, whether this is celebrating a behavior or whether this is giving a feedback that would help the person grow in a certain area of their behaviors, but be specific about the behavior that's being displayed. Of course, celebrate more often. If you can celebrate once a day for each team member or for the whole team, to get you into that practice of celebrating more often, finding those small things to celebrate is a great first step. And then whenever giving feedback, whether it's a celebration or whether it's a growth feedback, making sure that it's psychologically safe, making sure that we understand that this environment for the person or for the team is a safe environment for us to be able to share this. And then, of course, the getting feedback, making sure that we know exactly what success is going to look like for us, and that the other person can identify it when they see it in us. Identifying our person, making sure that they can be brutally honest with us, and of course, we need to be feeling safe with them. And then again, the specific behavior, focusing on something specific makes it so much easier to be able to change that behavior, and only making it one or two different behaviors that we want to change, and not piling everything on the plate and trying to do it that way. We will definitely choke in our efforts. So utilizing this little table, it's easy to see and keep it in mind when we are giving feedback. So that brings us to the end of our lesson today. If you have any questions or you would like some more information around feedback or creating awareness within your own space, you can get hold of me on my email, mariska@journey2discover.com, and that is the number 2. Or alternatively, please connect with me via LinkedIn, and when you are connecting, write a short little message on how I might be able to assist you. Thank you.
Thank you. Another great episode. Really so well. And we have some comments, by the way. I can't run the comments while we're streaming. We've got Nat back with us from Las Vegas. Hi, Nat. Nice to have you with us. Glad you could make the live stream as well. And hope everyone is doing positive today. We certainly are.
Oh, yes, we are.
Yes, and I'm loving this. Big thumbs up for the most motivating channel on YouTube. Woo!
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you. Thank you. And I think Nat just happened to find us somehow last week. I don't even know how she found us, but she is a hairstylist. She's a personal trainer for many years. She is a writer and an author, and she's adding a lot of color commentary to our shows. So thank you again, Nat, for being here.
Absolutely. We love it when you guys love what we are doing.
Yes, absolutely. And Mariska, we have a few announcements to share today. So, as you know, as being a co-host, and the show that we do together is Leadership of the Heart. This one is on Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. What time is it in New Zealand?
That is 8
Third
a.m. at the moment,
on
New Zealand
Thursday.
time, on a Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday. I'm
So
sorry. That's right.
it's on a Monday for you, and it's on a Tuesday for me, and it's 4 p.m., isn't it? 4 p.m. Eastern.
It is 4
And
p.m. Eastern. I have too many
mm,
shows.
yes, you do. You do have quite a lot of shows.
So we hope that you'll join us for that. It is 4 p.m. Eastern time, which is on a Monday, 8 a.m., which is on a Tuesday in New Zealand. And you can
There
go
you
over
go.
to our YouTube channel and see the shows that we've already done. The other thing I want to announce is that Mariska is part of our Talking Heads panel. These are some of our expert presenters, and they will be together for the first time ever. They don't even all know each other. That's next week, April the 12th. And right before we live stream, I will be giving out the topic that we will be discussing. So for next week specifically, Diane Floyd Boehm has the day off, and we'll be joined by David Shine, and he is so intelligent and so well educated, and he's got a lot of strong opinions about things, which we welcome. So we're excited about that. That is April the 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, and we also have a new show coming. Yes, it is a show about Christianity. And this was the brainchild of Diane Floyd Boehm. And the name of the show is going to be. Any guesses?
No idea.
It's called Growing the Light Inside of You. And we will be featuring ministers, priests, nuns, people who have stories to share. It's going to be fascinating. So that's forthcoming. And then we have a new show that started 2 weeks ago. It's on tomorrow. It's called What's Trending, and it features Kathy Fulton, who is a new talking head. She will be presenting her first Talking Heads episode tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time after we do the show, What's Trending. Okay, another thing I want to mention is we have a reunion show coming up, which is May the 1st here on the East Coast, here in the United States. And this show is all about promoting your work. If you have a book, a film, a poem, an event, a product, a service, whatever it is that you want to present, you get 15 minutes to present. And it's not an interview, it's just a presentation. So we hope that you'll join us for that. I will put the link to Eventbrite in the comments. You can also go to our website, usaglobaltv.com, book your session, and it's the first thing up there that shows up. So they're all my announcements. And finally, I have a request, whether you're watching this on the live or you're watching us afterwards. I had actually closed the polls, but I'm opening them up again. My new book is coming out, Adversity to Awesome. In this book, I have a chapter about something that happened to me that I never spoke of, and it really affected my life in a lot of ways. And I'm putting it out there in the public domain. Can you imagine? And I am joined by a number of other authors who have written their own chapter, and we've included it in this book. We've taken their words and put it into the third person. So my question is, which book cover do you find to be more stimulating that would get you to want to buy the book? Is it this one? Or I wish we could show them together. Or is it this one? I don't know. You can let us know.
We'll have to find out.
Yes. So we were doing a poll on Facebook, and the yellow was really killing it in a lot of ways because of the work that you did, Mariska. Do you want to tell us about this survey that you did?
Yeah, so I actually, Dr. Jacqueline posted her poll, and I thought, well, you're not in all the groups that I'm in. So I took the poll and I posted it in some of the groups that I'm in. And again, the yellow came out quite high. And it was quite interesting to see the commentary that went with why people preferred the one above the other one. So yes, always very interesting to do polls, and from a scientific, nerdy perspective, I love them.
It is. And some of the feedback that I received was that the orange, I'm just going to put it up again. In some people, the orange instilled fear for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Some people also thought that the scratch marks, it's a cat with 9 lives, that the scratch marks reminded them of blood. And then on the positive side, people said that they really liked this one better because it was visually eye catching and
Yeah.
stimulated interest, whereas this one was kind of like, hmm. So I'd be interested to hear what other people think.
Yeah, definitely. And it would be really helpful to put a comment why you enjoy the one over the other so that we can make sure that intentionally we do the right thing.
Yes, for sure. And one more thing I want to share, which I always love to put myself out there. You know that. I like to put
Oh,
myself out there so
yes.
someone else will come forward and get out of their comfort zone. So on our platform, we have another co-host. Her name is Madeline Chan. She's an international award-winning singer, songwriter, producer, author, and she's also a vocal coach. She's located over in London, and she's been giving
Mm-hmm.
me voice lessons. So we had an opportunity to meet yesterday, and she knew I was coming from one show and then I had another show, and I only had 20 minutes. And so she did some breathing exercises, and she wanted me to work on this song called Sunny. And
Ooh.
I have a 1 minute clip from that I'm putting myself out there, and let's take a look. And the reason I'm putting myself out there is because voice lessons were something I never even thought of. And being a singer was
Mm-hmm.
an aspiration I had, sort of like in a dream-like state. But I was always told that I had a horrible voice. And
Huh.
I went into the voice lessons feeling like, I don't know what's going to come of this, because I've been told over and over again that I have a terrible voice. So she brought out the feminine energy, because I'm always in my masculine energy. And so I just want to
Mm-hmm.
share this in the hopes that maybe someone else will come forward and use their voice to open themselves up, because you never know what can happen. So
Oh,
let's take a look. If
yes.
it's really, if it's really bad, I'll take it down. Here we go. This is me yesterday with Madeline Chan, and singing part of the song Sunny. Sunny.
Whoa, Sunny.
Oh, Sunny.
Thank you for the beat, bop, bit, and down.
Thank you for the beep, bop, doo, da, da.
Whoa, Sunny.
Whoa, Sunny. Thank you for the
Dee da da dee da da.
whatever. Sunny, Sunny. You smile at me and really ease the pain. Oh, the dark days are gone and the bright days are here. My sunny one shines so sincere. Sunny one so true. I love you.
Wow.
So I hope someone else will come forth and share their voice. I want to give Madeline's information. She's really fantastic. Here it is: award-winning singer, international singer, songwriter, author, vocal coach, and producer with Colors of the Voice, with a voice tutor, Madeline Chan. You can contact her here on her website, madeline-chan.com, or via email, madeline.carolchan@gmail.com. In addition, she also teaches the Power of Listening courses with me as well. So thanks for watching that. I hope one person will come forward and use their voice if they've been living behind a wall of fear or lack of self-esteem, or someone told them that they didn't have a good voice. Just get it out there.
Definitely. And Dr. Jacqueline, I think you did a fabulous job.
Thank you. It's always crazy watching yourself, but again, it's just about empowering people and bringing hope and inspiration, and that's what we do here.
Exactly. And you were having fun in the process. It looked like you actually had me dancing in backstage.
I had a great time. I love to sing. And I also play the piano. So I can play Sunny, but when I try to sing and play together, I can't be fully present because I'm doing two things at one time. So I give everybody out there who can do both of those really well at the same time a lot of credit.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of practice to get both of them done properly at the same time.
Yes, for sure. So for now, I'll just stick to broadcasting and producing. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for hanging out with me after your show. I appreciate it.
It is always my pleasure, and I enjoy the shows so much. For our audience, when you are listening, really make the effort and go to YouTube. There is so much that we can go and explore on the YouTube channel within USA Global TV, from lessons to inspiration and anything and everything in between. So absolutely make a plan and get yourselves there.
Thank you, Mariska. I appreciate it. All right. I'm going to close out this show, and I look forward to chatting with you later.
Enjoy the rest.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, folks, I just want to let you know what we have coming up tomorrow. So tomorrow, which is Thursday, April the 7th here in the States, our first show is What's Trending, as I mentioned, and our guest is Rosa Kirstein, and we're going to be talking about flooring, everything you want to know about flooring. Following that is our Talking Heads episode with Kathy Fulton. This is her first episode. We're really excited about that. Then we're coming back with the Corner Bookstore. My co-host is Diane Floyd Boehm, and our guest is Mike Cowis. And then we have the Film and Music Show, and our guest is Sam Sarah, followed by The Wise Ones. And Red O'Loughlin is my co-host for that, and our guest is Gary Turner. And then after that, we have Talking Heads, and Red O'Loughlin is our Talking Head expert. So I hope you'll join us. We start tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay, thank you again, whether you watch us on the live or the replay. It means so much. Thank you, Nat, for being here and encouraging us and spreading the word. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you on one of our shows, Nat. So go over to usaglobaltv.com and book your session. All right, we're going to end with a sponsorship for the Brain Tumor Charity. Let's take a look at that. I wish you all well, and I'll see you soon.
It's an amazing atmosphere. The Brain Tumor Charity have been incredible. Everyone's just been really supportive, worth every ache in my legs right now.
Brain tumours are something that affect a lot of young, fit people like myself. It's obviously an extremely good cause. What better way to raise some money than to do something like this?
The cheer point was a massive buzz because you knew when they were coming up. Don't wear earphones, soak in the atmosphere and enjoy it. The crowd will get you round, so if everybody does a little bit, it will make a massive difference.
Anyone can run the marathon, and you sort of mentally think, I can't do it, but I think everybody can do it. My dad was diagnosed with a glioblastoma in 2018, so I took it on myself to take the challenge on and raise as much money as possible.
I was running today's marathon because my sister has a brain tumour.
My dad sadly passed away from a brain tumour. I've finally managed to run the marathon, and I'm so happy to do it for my dad.
Whether it's the London Marathon or a half marathon or a cake sale that you're doing at your local village hall, it's amazing when you raise funds for the Brain Tumor Charity because you are making a difference.
Feels really great having all the supporters on the side shouting for you. It's just such a fantastic charity. We know so little about brain tumours and how to fix them, and the work they do is fantastic, and it needs more support to do more research. We could save so many more people, and I think the London Marathon is a great way of raising funds.